Yo guys, it's Kyle coming at you from Bane's Film Reviews. I just saw Honey Don't, directed by Ethan Coen, starring Margaret Qualley, Chris Evans, Charlie Day, and Aubrey Plaza. Aubrey, I always mess her name up. I never remember. I'm not even really going to try anymore. But this is a film that I really anticipated. I thought that this would be a really good end to the summer. One of the last things, probably the last thing that I see in theaters before school starts up again. And honestly, this was one of my favorite experiences in theaters this year. Ethan Coen is just a pure filmmaker. He exists in the same vein as directors like Ari Aster, who just did Weapons, and Quentin Tarantino, who has just done a slew of things that you're all very, very familiar with. He manages to create these narratives that are so brilliant and original and captivate audiences, and this film, Honey Don't, is no exception to that. He's brilliant in this film in developing a narrative that continues to subvert expectations, continues to hit viewers in the face, and continues to surprise them at literally every turn. I didn't even know what this film was about until about the hour mark, and that's a good thing. We're constantly being introduced to new characters and introduced to new plot lines, and they all blend together seamlessly and never detract from anything else in the film. By the end of this film, I was very, very pleased with what I had seen, and I loved the way that this film had gone by its conclusion. Again, I didn't know which direction this was going, and every time that I thought I did, there was another twist. There was something else that happened that completely shifted this narrative in a way that I hadn't expected, and it works every single time. I think this film was brilliant. I love it. Is it the best film of the year? Absolutely not, but I think that this is probably the best time that I've had in the theater this year. I laughed many, many times, and there were times that I almost cried just because of how good this film is. There weren't strong emotional moments, but there were times in the theater where I was just so emotionally connected to Coen's vision that I teared up a little bit. And that's even more than I could have possibly asked for. Margaret Qualley has become an actor that I think I will go out of my way to see anything and everything that she's in, because she has proven herself time and time again. With films like Substance and now this, she likes to immerse herself in worlds that are incredibly unique and wildly different than what we see in other films, and especially in the mainstream. She does a wonderful job of finding herself in films that work so well on their own, don't need sequels, they don't need context, they just exist beautifully, both in the world of cinema and in the real world. And again, I think I would go out of my way to watch films that she is in just because of what she has proven to me as a filmgoer and as a critic over the past few years. Additionally, this cast is just brilliant. Chris Evans, this might be his best role since being Captain America. He's so compelling. He's charming. He's everything you need in this quasi-antagonist. And I say quasi because he is and he isn't. Again, as expectations are being subverted throughout the course of this film, you don't really know where he stands in the grand scheme of this narrative, and that's great. But Evans does a spectacular job of continuing to reel viewers in, to appeal to them on an emotional level, to appeal to them almost on a sexual level. He just exudes this sexuality that is even beyond sex. It's just innately human in a way that's so easy to grasp and so easy to understand and appreciate. Evans is stunning in this film. So good. And again, I think this is probably his best performance since we've seen him as Captain America. Now, I want to go back to the narrative real fast, because again, as we're twisting and turning through this narrative that we don't know where it's going and we don't know how it's going to end, it runs the risk of becoming disjointed. But again, Coen does such a wonderful job of not allowing that to happen, of allowing this film to somehow remain linear when it's not linear at all. There's so many things being thrown into the fold throughout the course of this film, and Coen manages to construct a narrative that remains linear, somehow fluid, and accessible throughout. And then one of my favorite things of this film is the use of sound. The sound design is ultimately the vehicle that drives this film. Even when they're not using sound, there's descriptions of sounds or mention of possible sounds that help to drive the narrative, or just, land a joke or develop a bit of emotion or drama or suspense. This sound design is absolutely stellar, and this team does just an impeccable job of using sound again as a vehicle to drive this twisted film in a way that I hadn't anticipated and you don't see very often in film these days. So, I'm going to give this film 2 scores. One, because I know what I think it should get, but a second one because, again, I think that this is the best experience that I've had in theaters this year. And I've seen some great things that I've really enjoyed myself in. I loved watching Fantastic Four in theaters. I loved watching Weapons in theaters. There's things that I've really enjoyed watching and being in the theater with other people this year, but this is the best. So, I'm going to give my score based on my personal experience, and that is a 9.5. I absolutely adored my experience. I would go see this film in theaters again just because of that. I know that it won't live up to my own expectations the second time around, but I would love to go see this again and see what I think the second time. Then I'm going to give it an honest rating based on what I think other people will think and what I honestly believe that it deserves. And that's still an 8.5 out of 10. I think that this film is brilliant. I think this is a film that you should go see in theaters. It's a film that probably won't be out very long. There's not a lot of marketing for this film. I understand it's not an incredibly high budget film, so it won't last in theaters very long. I encourage you, if you have a couple days before school starts, if you're dreading the start of the school year, go see this. Or maybe your kids are going back to school in a couple days and you have an opportunity to run to the theater because you have a little bit of extra free time. Go do that. I implore you to do so, because this is just a wonderful film and I enjoyed every second of it. So, with that, Honey Don't, again, just one of the best things that I've seen this year. So, until next time, peace.